If you had to choose between the AC10, the AC15, or the MINI Superbeetle, which one would you pick? My name is Jonathan, welcome to Arcsalva Studio. On this channel, I try and help you to get the best results out of the gear you already own. I do gear shootouts, gear demos, and pretty much anything related to guitar. And I'm also slightly obsessed with Vox amplifiers. So if you're interested in this kind of content, be sure to subscribe to the channel and also click that notification bell so that way you don't miss any of the new videos. So let's get to the content. 2 years ago, I went to my local music store, I tried out an AC10, and I fell in love with the amplifier. And over the course of 6 months, I tried it out maybe a half a dozen times, and I was in love with it. Put the money together, I went to my local music store, and I was like, man, I'm here to buy the AC10, and they're like, sorry man, we sold it like 2 days ago. I was like, and they told me, well, we do have an AC15 that you can try out. I hadn't really thought of the AC15, but you know what? I said, I'm going to try it out, just get it out of my system, and I'm going to go home and pout. I fell in love with it, and about 30 minutes later, I walked out with this amplifier. And I always wondered, if I had to start all over again and both amps were at the store, which one would I choose? The point of this video is not to showcase which amp is better, it's just to showcase the differences in tone between all three amps and also the similarities between all three amps. So if you're in a situation like I was 2 years ago and you're wondering about either or maybe all three amps and you don't have the opportunity to try all three of them, maybe this video can help you out make that decision. To be fair with this comparison, we have to acknowledge the differences between all three amps. The Mini uses a new tube technology, while the AC10 and the AC15 use 12AX7 in the preamp section and EL84 in the power section. There's also the cabinet size and construction material that does have an impact on the tone, and they use different speaker sizes as well. The AC15 has a 12-inch greenback, while the two others have a 10-inch speaker in them. What I did for this comparison is use the AC15 as the benchmark. I used the top boost channel because it has an EQ, and both other amps have an EQ section. And I did not put all the EQs at noon because here's what happens. The AC15 does not have a whole lot of bass by nature, and the two other amps are really bass heavy. So what I did is dial in this one to sound as best as it could, and I dialed in the other two amps to sound as close as possible in terms of frequency response to the AC15. So with these details out of the way, what we're going to do now is listen to some clean and some dirty tones. I'm going to be using my Les Paul Junior, my Feneder Telecaster, and a Stratocaster. I don't have anything with humbuckers at the moment, but this should give you a pretty good indication as to what the similarities and differences are between all three amps. And if you wonder what amp I would choose right now if I had to buy an amp all over again, you can stay until the end of the video and I'm going to share my thoughts with you. So now let's get to some audio examples. Knowing what I know now, if I had to choose all over again, I would go with the MINI Superbeetle based on the following. The first is the price point. The amp goes for $449 Canadian. That's for the head and the cab. And in terms of cost, you're going to save a lot of money. And in the long run, you will save a lot of money because you don't have to change tubes. There's just that one tube in there, and it probably costs next to nothing if ever anything happens with it and you have to get it changed, compared to paying over $100 worth of tubes to change this guy. So in terms of cost, you will save some money. Next is the real estate and the weight. In terms of real estate, I'm talking about how much room it occupies either at home or on stage. It is very, very small and very, very compact, so that's not an issue. In terms of weight, the whole thing weighs basically nothing. I believe it's 27 pounds. I'm gonna write it down here so you know how much it weighs, but the head weighs basically nothing. So if you have a gig where there's already a cab waiting for you, you could just pop that head into a backpack, bring it along with you. It weighs nothing. Or if you have a car, you can put your amp in there and it takes up no room at all. And the cool thing about that too is that the head has a switch at the back where you can switch between 16 ohm, 8 ohm, or 4 ohms. And if you're using a 4 ohm cab, the whole amp gets scaled up to 50 watts, which should be plenty loud for most scenarios. And in case it's not, well, you can always put a mic in front of the amp and that solves that issue. And the most important factor is the tone. Now, compared to the other two amps, the Mini sounds like a Vox. Obviously, there's some characteristics that are a bit different compared to the other two amps, but that's not enough to stray me away from it. I really like it mic'd up in the recording. I think it sounds really, really good. It sounds equally as good as the other two amps. It is different because of all the characteristics I talked about at the intro of this video, but I think it is a very good sounding amp. It does sound like a Vox. There's no issues there. It sounds good for home use. It's got plenty of bass, and if it's too much bass, you can dial it back and crank up the amp, and you got yourself a genuine Vox tone. So that's my takeaway from it. I would go with that amp, but I don't regret my AC15. I have a whole series on that amplifier, and if you want to see more videos like these, I have series on the AC15, the MINI Superbeetle, and now I'm starting a series on the AC10, and you can click right over here and go watch those. And I'm going to see you in the next video. Cheers.